Good morning and welcome to the Lois Oliver Show, and we talk about real estate and other important issues for folks that are buying and selling homes or owning homes here in the Artesia area, North Eddy County. And from Lois Oliver Real Estate today, John Henry is here. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
And okay, we had this discussion. You go by Favi.
Correct.
But Favi, but anyway.
Favi is the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, but everybody calls you Favi.
Yes, sir.
All
At
right.
least those close to me.
There you go. Well, I'm like about 3 feet away.
Right.
Is that close enough?
Yes.
And you brought a guest with you today, Wade Nelson. Wade, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And Wade works for Central Valley Electric Cooperative. And how far away do you get to sit from this guy when you're at City Council?
I am about as far away as you can get. I'm at the end.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I should take it personal. I'm not sure what I did wrong, but yeah, he's this way. And I notice he scoots a little more when he gets there. I don't know. But.
Yeah, well.
Cass and I are talking.
Yo.
Well, that's good. Well, where would you like to begin today? Wade, of course, with Central Valley Electric, kind of deals with electricity and all that good stuff.
Sure.
So,
Well, I what we're trying to do is ask the expert type deal. And at Lois Oliver Real Estate, we've talked about the electrical grid quite a bit on my mayor, commissioner, whenever we're talking. And what we would like to do is ask the expert, right? So like I always say, rather than just listen to a goofy politician or someone else, let's bring an expert in that can actually tell us what's going on, help us understand the grid a little bit. And I think that's what we do at Lois Oliver most of the time. If we don't know the answer, we don't pretend, we go ask the expert. So that's kind of what we did today. We thought we'd bring Wade in, and he can kind of explain to us why we're seeing bigger electric bills, what's going on with the grid, and how that all is working.
yeah. Well, we at the radio station, we have electrical power that comes from both providers that are in this area. I saw how much we paid these guys last month, and there's a huge mess on the floor because I just kind of went crazy in there. But I'm not alone, Wade. It's affecting everybody and everything right now. The cost of electricity.
It is. I'll just open up, and then if I don't answer your questions, just go ahead and hit me with them. But the electrical grid is a big concern. In fact, I have a letter here from the statewide organization. What that is every co-op in the state belongs to the statewide, and they compose that letter, send it to our governor and the legislators about the grid and about the policies that are a big part of what's going on the grid. We have increased demand. We're having early retirements of baseload generation, a growing reliance on non-dispatchable generation, i.e. renewables. Expensive fuel prices, natural gas prices are skyrocketing. They may be leveling out now. We're hoping to see some come down, but during this last year and a half, they reached extremely high numbers. And then we have extreme weather. Remember Uri? It froze up some of the fuel going to some of these generation plants, and we're still paying for that. All of these factors have given us a growing concern on the reliability of the grid. The reliability could lead to power outages, rolling blackouts. It's definitely having to go down the list of generation where we're getting rid of reliable baseload generation and replacing it with this uneconomical generation. That's causing the market price to go up. That market price gets fed to us, and we pass it on to the consumer. So it's a bad situation. We're pushing the renewables too quickly, I think. That's me, not CVE. That's my opinion. I think we need to slow down and start focusing on getting some good baseload generation back online for these types of situations so we can bring the market price back down some.
So when you say base load generation, because I've heard the term, and is this the power on demand that utilities can call on to satisfy when everybody starts, they get home and they turn on the air conditioners and the TVs and plug their phones and cars in to be charging? Is that kind of what we're talking about there?
That is it. Your baseload generation is dispatchable. You need it. It's ready to be dispatched by the RTO, the Regional Transmission Organization, which our RTO is the Southwest Power Pool. They cover 14 states or something, and we're in that footprint. So if SPP has dispatchable generation, baseload generation, and we come home and, like you said, we need this power, they can call on it. It's reliable, it should be economical, and they will dispatch it out to take care of the need. The problem with renewables, it's intermittent. You can't call on it all the time. If the sun's not shining,
we
it's
need the
not-
wind to blow.
Yeah.
You can't do that. We need the sun to shine. You can't. Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly right. We have a push for that type of energy while we're getting rid of the coal plants, the natural gas plants. We need more coal, natural gas, hydro, nuclear is a great source. Anything that's, and hydro is iffy. If you don't have a lot of rain and snow-capped mountains, then you may
kind
not
of
have a lot of hydro.
Experiencing that out in California right now because, like, the Hoover Dam is not really holding back much right now. Lake Mead has been down for many, many years. So, so you're right. Under normal circumstances, hydro is probably closer to something you can call on because you can turn on and turn off the turbines. But if there's no water there, then you've got that issue. So.
Yes, sir.
That it's really an interesting dilemma. Let me ask you this: has there been any development in ways of storing the renewable electricity? So the sun shines during the day, hits the solar panels. Is it someplace that it can go to be stored, so that at night or when there is an increase in demand, it can come from the
batteries.
the batteries or something like that?
And I'm not the expert on batteries, but yes, there are batteries, and I see ads come across all the time for Tesla and then other people who are making batteries like Tesla batteries for home use, where you can have it, you can program them to charge during the day, either from the solar panels or from the utility, and you can dispatch it at night throughout your house if you need it. But what I'm hearing is you would need a lot of batteries to run your house. They're good for certain areas, certain appliances, but if you want to run your house as you would off of the utility, you would need multiple and they're not cheap. Plus, and now I'm going to speak as Wade, not CVE, but mining. The mining is going to be the biggest problem to go green. I was on PragerU. I don't know if anybody does PragerU, but they have a great video about this, and they were talking about how the mining would have to expand over 1,000% of what we're doing now just to get the renewables going the way politicians are telling us they are going. We're not going to get there soon because of the mining.
Yeah.
And all that, there's so many ores that you need to make the batteries, the panels, the blades, the motors, 100 different things. So, and it's not, and I'm not hounding, I'm not bashing renewables. They have a place, they're good in the market, they're cheap energy. We need a good mixture of them. We just do not need to be reliant on them right now because
Right.
the technology's not there. We still need the baseload generation. That's what's going to keep us out of trouble.
Right.
In New Mexico, we passed the ETA, the Energy Transition Act. And the statewide organization saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that we did not have enough votes to kill it, so it was coming. They started lobbying early with the governor and her people, and actually got cooperatives some goals instead of mandates. We still have to meet the 50% mark. We have to have that 50% of our energy has to be renewable by a certain date. We can meet that. But after 50%, everything that's a mandate for IOUs or municipalities is a goal for the cooperatives. So if it's not affordable, not reliable, if it's technologically not feasible, we have an off-ramp to where we're not doing that. But it's that mentality that our government has that's causing this, pushing that on people to go zero carbon by this date, regardless
Right.
of the consequences.
Well, they've been telling us for 20 years that we had 10 years to save the planet, and that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I may not be completely accurate in my timeline, but for a long time now, we've been told that if we don't do something now, that we're not going to be able to save the planet, but that date keeps moving forward. So if someone's looking at buying a home, whether it's in the city or maybe a property out in the county, and you hear all of this in the news about the things you just talked about, Wade, are there some things that maybe you should look at or consider, or would be wise to kind of think about adding to a home? I think you're right, Wade. I don't know that the storage technology is such that on a massive scale, enough energy can be stored to take care of, say, Artesia, in the event that the wind is not blowing and the sun is not shining. But maybe on a personal level, ranchers, farmers, people that have businesses out in the county, are there some things that they can do now that would help?
We are seeing an increase in DG, distributive generation, making your own generation behind the meter, making your own energy. So a lot of panels on the homes. I think we're up to, I should have asked Ray Lynn before I came, 46 maybe. Let's say around 50 right now on our system. And that'll probably continue going up. So CVE has gone, we've already made a rate rider for all of our rates, most of them, for distributive generation behind the meter, because I do foresee that if the grid's going to be unreliable, people will start saying we need to generate our own energy and supplement what the utility can't provide. And I think that's a good, and energy efficiency. Our building that we're in is energy efficient. We have geothermal heating and cooling. We have LED lighting. So anything you can do to conserve energy will help you and the grid, because you lower the load need. So,
In a way, isn't that ultimately the goal of some of the proposals to push us in that direction, is to try to force people or motivate people? It used to be carrot and stick. I think it's stick approach is what we're being hit with now. Do this, do this, do this, and some people are actually having to take into consideration for that. Favi, John, when people are looking at buying a home, selling a home, are there some aspects of, backup power, storage? Are there things like that are starting to be discussed that people are either looking at or considering when they're looking at buying or selling a house?
I think so. They take a lot of things into consideration. They are looking at, some of them, about converting to solar panels or putting solar panels on their houses. Just a variety of things are affecting it.
Mm-hmm. So if someone has a house that they want to list, the fact that it has solar panels or some, what'd you call it, Wade?
DG.
DG.
Distributive generation.
Distributive generation. Is that a positive in some cases now, or starting to become a positive? John, is that?
Yeah, I think it's a positive in some instances. I think what we also need to learn, and I don't know the answer, I don't know if Wade does, but we've talked about it before, when the car batteries catch on fire, they're impossible to put out. So if we're putting big batteries on the side of our garages, how is that affecting your insurance rates? I really don't know that answer, but I think it's something we should know, because if those batteries do catch on fire, what's the likelihood of taking the whole house? So is that adding to your premium? I really don't know that answer, but I just thought of that while we were sitting here talking, and I think that's something we should learn. So we're able to educate the buyer as they're buying or selling, saying, hey, this is a positive. In this instance, it might hurt you on this side. So we've got to take both of those into account. I don't know if the insurance agencies are starting to recognize that as a problem yet, or even if it is a problem. I know, according to our fire departments and everyone else, when those things catch on fire, the amount of water it takes to put them out is, quadruple what a regular thing. So if we're putting that much on there, well, what's going as it goes?
Well, and it's not a new thing. I don't think I should say this on the air, but I mean, we have a battery backup system in the back of the building, and it's been there for over 10 years. I mean, this is something that we put in a long time ago because we want to try to stay on the air.
Sure.
and it doesn't happen often, but there are occasional times when the power goes out. I think the most recent time was either a Mylar balloon got up in some power lines, or somebody ran into a pole and it took out some. I mean, those things happen from time to time, and so everything's in this room is running off the batteries right now, but only for a limited period of time. Then we got to go to the fossil fuel power generator to keep everything rolling.
Yeah.
But with more and more of this starting to happen and going on people's homes, I guess that's where the concern is that you're talking about. And then just the sound of the generators droning. If everybody's got to go to generator and go to a food festival,
Yeah.
you can't hear anything because of the drone of the generators going
Yeah.
on. Doesn't that generate pollution?
No. Don't tell them. Just keep it there. Hot dogs are worth it. So
That's right.
Call it a day.
And Wade, let me ask you this: there's a tremendous push towards buying electric vehicles, cars, SUVs, and stuff like that. And you're seeing more and more of them on the road now. What about the grid as far as if right now it's a very small percentage. There's not a lot of them that are out there, but now you start getting into a significant percentage of people that go ahead and install the charging systems, which are generally 240, single phase 240, and now they come home and they're plugging in their cars every night. What kind of challenge is that going to pose to the grid if we do indeed move in that direction more rapidly?
I would say it's going to be the same as any other load. You whether it's at the house or McDonald's or wherever, you've got if you get a heavy saturation of an electrical load, the grid just sees it as a load, and it's going to need reliable generation, and we're moving away from that. So it's going to be the same thing. I keep hearing stories out of California: buy electric. Oh, and by the way, don't plug them in. We don't have the power to plug them in yet.
Yeah.
We're having problems. So
Well, plug them in at 2 a.m.
yeah.
That and I bet the people that sell those systems are writing software that will allow you to program when they can and cannot come on and charge. And
But then you're just shifting the peak.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right now the peak's in the middle of the day, but if you force everybody at 2 a.m., now you're shifting that peak to 2 a.m. Eventually, the basic principle is get the good generation, don't get rid of it. We need it. And quit forcing our hands with intermittent generation. And one thing about solar, I just want to say, it's very good to have the owner of the house, before they sign any paperwork, to get with the utility. Not every solar company is the same.
Right.
And we have had people that have signed on without talking to us. They signed the contract, they're stuck in it, and they go, we wish we were out of it. It's not what they sold us, it's not what they told us, it's not. So get with the utility. We'll sit down with you, we'll visit with you, go over everything, and make sure it's really what you want. It can be good. The other engineer at CV has it on his house, works great. In fact, I think he gets paid by Excel every month. So for that, it works fine.
Yeah.
But just make sure you get the right people doing the right things and using good equipment, not cheap equipment.
Because the last thing you'd want to do, and again, kind of bringing it back to buying and selling a piece of property, if you do go ahead and put solar panels on, you don't want to, well, you shouldn't, transfer a problem that you're having with that system to the buyer if you're the seller in that case. Because I could see some people looking at some solar panels and thinking, do those come with the house? Do they work?
Right.
And how much do they actually save on electricity? Because we're told we're not supposed to amortize the cost of this thing. If it's going to cost us $10,000 to put in the battery backup and it might save us $100 a month, you're not supposed to think about it that way. You're supposed to think about it, we're saving the planet,
Right.
whatever the cost. But I would think that would be important, though, if you do have a house that you want to list that's for sale that has a solar system. Is it working? Is it working properly? Or are they having problems like some of the folks that Wade talked about?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think some people are out there wondering, well, why in the world are we talking about a grid on the Lois Oliver show? And I think when we sell a house or buy a house, a lot of what the buyers are asking us is not only if their solar panels, do they work, but also, can I afford the mortgage? Can I afford? And then they pull that utility bill almost immediately. And it has been a noticed increase of, oh my gosh, is this normal? Well, yes, it is normal now, but what does that normal mean? I don't know that we can explain it well, because I don't think we understand it. to the levels. I don't think anyone does. Will the load come back? I have no idea. Hopefully we wake up and get the load back. But that's a huge piece into when you're buying a house. Can we afford it? And that's something now folks are really having to. Whereas in the past, I don't know that it was as big of an issue. There was, you could look at utilities and it might sway a few here and there, but now it's one of those things where folks are having to look at it for reals and go, that's a lot. It's a lot to run this house. Can we still do that with this? And so that's part of what we have to do is not help them make that decision. That's their own decision. They're their own financial person. But we've got to get those numbers to them and then try to help explain why. Why is it affecting us different? We've heard, like we talked about the other day, California's rates are through the roof. Well, they're already through the roof on the housing market. I can only imagine you start adding those kind of bills on top of their mortgage rates, it's going to affect their housing market. So I think that's why to us it's really important to understand this and be able to pass that information on to the buyers and sellers so they can understand, okay, this is how this could affect your selling of the house or buying of a house.
Sure.
So,
and it may motivate some folks if they're thinking about selling, or even if they're not thinking about selling, R values and insulation and
absolutely.
LED lighting and some of the other things that you can do, not only just to save you money, but maybe generate some electric bills that aren't quite as crazy.
Right.
So,
Right.
because you're right, I forgot about that. People that are looking to buy, it's not just how much is the mortgage.
Yeah.
I need to see the last 6 months electric bills for this place.
Right.
And I don't know, there may not be any insulation, or there may not be any, or they're going to have to factor that in when it comes to what their offer is going to be. I hadn't thought about that. That's good information. Favi, I think you sent us, or we got a link with some listings that you wanted to share with everybody, and Jeffrey's got the link. So for those watching online, we'll see which one Jeffrey puts first.
Okay.
And then let's see, and you can drop the.
Yes.
There you go. All right. So tell us about, for those listening. Tell us what this listing is.
That is 41 Jenkins. It's out north of town on a little over 2 acres, about 2.14 acres. It is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. You have 2 kitchens in there, so I like to call the second kitchen like the entertainment part of the house.
Okay.
You do have a large kitchen with a huge island. I love that island. I'll probably have that in my next house.
Okay. All right. And Jeffrey's pulled up the picture of the kitchen and the island.
And so it works great for the family that has the in-laws living with them, or a out-of-high school teenager still living at home. It gives them their separate space so that they could still enjoy their home and each other.
Okay. And with 2.14
So just over 2
you
acres.
put a lot of solar panels out there.
You could do a solar farm.
Some people may seriously think that that's a good idea to help them
Right.
out. And,
I think there's a house out south of town that has solar panels on their lot. So
yeah, depending on how much property you have.
right. It'd be interesting to know how that turns out for them.
So is this on XL or CVE, or do you know?
I believe it's CVE.
CVE.
And
Jenkins
then-
should be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know on that.
That one's actually listed at 160. It was built in 1985. Not a lot of lenders will loan on that house because it's got 2 additions on it, but we do know some lenders that will.
Oh, okay.
So anybody that's interested, they can get with us and we can get them in contact with them.
Very good. All right, and then there's a second one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when Jeffrey's ready, he can bring up
The next one.
the next listing, and these are with Lois Oliver Real Estate. So he has to go back to us for a
Right.
second, and then bring up the next picture for those that are watching online. Listening, of course, we're going to go to another listing, and it's LoisOliverRealEstate.com. Is where all of your listings are on that website.
So they could find all the houses, the commercial listings, the land listings. There's a variety of properties out
so
there.
was there a second listing, or was
Yes.
there? Oh, okay. All right. We're waiting on Jeffrey.
Yes.
He's probably going, what? Do you remember what the address was?
It was either 1401 West Merchant or 506 J.J. Clark. So
And-
that's 1401 West Merchant.
Yay!
We don't have a lot of interior pictures on this one.
Okay.
It is one of those that it's either you can get an investor to buy it, fix it up, and then rent it out. There's going to potentially be a lot more people needing rentals, so that's a good investment there. Or a first-time home buyer that can do the work, or know people that can do the work for them. It's under $100,000. It's $99,000, and it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And it's a good starter home if you can go in and do all the upgrades you need.
Yeah. Well, I see it's already been changed to refrigerated air, so
Yes.
that's a plus.
You have a large corner lot there as well. It's actually on a lot plus. And I was walking the neighborhood yesterday or the other day, and I noticed that there's not a lot of neighbors there because you have probably 3 houses on that side of the block. And then it does bump up to Main Street, so you could walk to any of your favorite restaurants there or walk to the game. Good location for that.
Okay. And that address again is
1401 West Merchant.
1401 West Merchant, under $100,000.
Yes.
For either an investment property or a fixer-upper if you want to put a little elbow grease in and try to improve some things. And that one would be in town, so that's probably
That's going to be XL.
XL Energy on that. And Wade, I think you mentioned, of course, and Raylyn and others that have been on from CVE have said when you're thinking about solar or renewables, if you're on CVE, call CVE, and I'm sure XL has the same type of situation, that if you're getting ready to think about solar or whatever, call XL first and have a conversation with them.
And I can't speak to how you get a hold of XL, but I would try it.
I wasn't, well, we're making assumptions here, but I would think they would have some people to help them out with that. Great. So if you go to LoisOliverRealEstate.com, you can see the listings and the information and all the different folks. Was there anything else that we wanted to talk about today? Or Wade, did you have anything else you wanted to share about the grid? Or
Well, you were talking about the high cost and high prices, and I told you a little bit about it. Just so you know, a little reference, CVE, thanks to our general manager, Chuck Pinson, he worked hard. We had probably the lowest wholesale price in this region for wholesale power. Over the last year and a half, it's doubled because of what we've been talking about.
so the
That's just a straight
rates
pass.
have not changed. It's the supplement charge that gets added to the bill
It's the
because
wholesale price that we're paying for.
Right.
CVE has not had a rate change since 2018. And that filing was actually a decrease in revenue. It was a rate decrease. So we have not changed our rates since 2018, and that's when we gave them a credit. What's causing this to go on is paying off what happened in Uri and what's happening to the wholesale power industry, the
Okay.
market.
And it shows up on your bill as the fuel cost
Fuel.
adjustment,
Yes.
right? And that's where you see that, but nobody breaks it down. They just look at the final number and go, what's going
and
on?
then call us.
Yeah.
They
No,
look
I
at that
understand.
number, call us, and hey, what are you doing over there?
I understand people having questions, and so we're trying to answer those. And
Well, and you put the supply chain issues on top of that. You're talking about electricity to new homes. I'm sure that if a subdivider,
Developer.
a developer, or the subdivision is putting in the power, he's going to roll that into the cost.
Yeah.
And our cost has gone up because of material.
right. So the wire and
just
the
like you see
poles and
everywhere,
everything
the
else.
construction cost has gone up for building homes. So has ours.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, we're out of time, but if folks have questions, Wade's a great expert to talk to out at CVE. If you
How
have,
about expert?
well, he'll talk to you.
I'll talk to you.
And of course, you can see Favi or John or any of your other associates there at Lois Oliver Real Estate. Anything else?
No, thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes,
No,
thank
thank
you.
you so much for coming in and doing this, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
All right.